swim in the waters of the Tigris on a hot summer's evening, not to sit under the shade of a tamarind tree and eat a ripe fig. Never again see the delights of my little museum that houses the treasures of the past. And this is nothing compared to the important work still to be done with King Faisal and the continuing improvements in an independent Iraq. No, I am not ready to go just yet. It could be my fancy, but I have become convinced that someone wishes to do me harm. An uneasiness of spirit has come over me. I feel as though I am being watched, studied, but when I look up there is no one in the room. In the early hours when I have been in bed reading, I have noticed how Tundra suddenly stirs, the dog's ears pricked, her bright eyes turning on some invisible enemy, a low growl beginning to form in the back of her throat. I have gone to the window, looked out into the purple night, but I have been unable to see or hear anything beyond the stirring of the palms in the breeze. I have taken to sleeping with my gun under my pillow. I need to be ready, prepared. As someone once told me, every Arab in the desert fears the other. Ever your affectionate daughter, Gertrude. Dearest Father, I cannot write very much because my hand is trembling so. I apologize if you cannot read my words. Enclosed is a drawing that I received this morning. As you can see, it shows a grave at Ur, which has recently come to light during the dig overseen by Mr. Woolley and his team. Next to a stick figure you will see a set of initials. They are my own, GLB. If the missive's purpose was to unnerve me, then it has worked. I feel shaken to the core. My hope is that this was the only function of the letter, that it was designed to unsteady me and nothing more. In my previous letter I spoke of my irrational fears that someone wants me dead. Now I am afraid that this is indeed the case. You know that I do not have a melodramatic streak. I do not strive to create drama where there is none. I have always borne my miseries with fortitude. I am of a practical bent and not prone to fancies. I wish I did not have to set the words down. To see them written before me gives them a certain reality that makes me tremble. But set them down I must. If I were to be found dead, and if there was an indication that my death was not due to the onset of some terminal illness, then it is safe to assume that I was murdered. And my murderer, I suggest you look no further than Ur. Ever your affectionate daughter, Gertrude. Chapter 1. So, what do you make of it? Asked Davison, as he took the 2 letters from me. I did not answer immediately. Too many questions were crowding my head. I took a sip of iced soda water and gazed across the terrace of the hotel to the Tigris below. A lonely boatman was singing a queer, discordant song that brought back to me the ghosts of the past. And the handwriting is definitely that of Gertrude Bell. It seems so, said Davison, peering at the scrawl again. Someone who knows about these kinds of things has compared the letters to others she wrote to her father and stepmother, and although it's difficult to say for certain, there are particular elements of style, such as the distinctive way she formed her Ds, for example, with a curious backward slope. That suggests they were indeed written by Miss Bell. I've always understood that she died of an illness, pneumonia or something bronchial, I said, remembering the obituaries I had read of the famous adventurer and Arabist when she died in July 1926. At that time, I had been in the midst of my own troubles, drowning in a sea of grief after the death of my mother, valiantly trying to hold together a marriage that was falling apart at the seams, battling a creative block that was driving me to the edge of reason. Yes, that was the story put out by the family, said Davison. But, according to the doctor who examined her, Miss Bell died from barbiturate poisoning. A bottle of dial tablets was found by her bedside at her house here in Baghdad. Of course, no one wanted to draw attention to the fact that her death, or so it was thought, was a suicide. And tell me again.